Okay, record. Think so. All right. Hi, my artist friends, drawers. This has been a crazy couple weeks of perspective. I hope it hasn't been too painful for you. As I've told a couple of you, perspective drawing, technical perspective drawing is not my favorite thing either, and it's not something that you have to use at all if you don't want to. But it is one of those tools that you're just going to, you're going to practice it a little bit. You're going to understand what people are talking about when they talk about perspective. You're going to get a feel for how it works, how to use it when you need to, if you want to. And you're going to put that tool away in your back pocket and it'll come out when you need it and you don't have to use it ever again. Um, Obviously, some of you really seem to have a knack for this, and you might lean into it. You might really enjoy perspective drawing. It's a very, very cool technique to be able to bust out when you want to, and it's really, really helpful um, for interiors. It's really helpful for urban environment drawing, any sort of architecture. Getting those perspective lines in is going to really help a feeling of depth and reality when you approach any sort of architectural drawing. So that's a really, really common use for this. And for the people who weren't so into this, you can still do this type of drawing even if you're not sticking completely to these perspective rules. Just throwing in a horizon line and kind of understanding where your vanishing point is often enough to get a really convincing feel to your architectural drawings within a broader context of an image. So don't worry about this too much if you hated it, but feel free to lean in if you're one of those people who loved it. And I just wanted to do a very quick, uh, very, very quick demo on a couple of these shapes here. Shrink myself down a little bit so I'm not in the way. That's okay. Um, okay. Oops. Okay, that's fine. You don't need to see me. So I just wanted to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about when we're talking about perspective here. So most of you did a really great job kind of working through these worksheets, getting a feel for um, how to draw in perspective. A big part of what we're doing here is we're trying to figure out how thick a shape or an object is in the context of this image. Um, so how long those connecting lines are going to sort of show how deep into space these objects go. So let me just show you. I'm going to start on shape A here, and I've already drawn in these orthogonal lines, our perspective lines, which are all going to this same vanishing point um, right there. So up here, it says connect the corners of the shapes to the vanishing point. I've done that. And then draw the sides of the shape with horizontal and vertical lines. Okay. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And I'm going to do that now, just in case there's anyone who did struggle with this. And I'm actually, I could use, since I'm on the computer here, unfortunately, it's a little bit easier for me to demo on the computer than with pencil and paper. I could just start drawing these lines in from here. That connecting down and There's my vertical, there's my horizontal. There's my vertical, vertical. And I'm trying to think about how to get these shapes to connect um, while using those orthogonal lines. And you can see that I'm having to adjust a little bit because I'm not using a straight edge. I'm just kind of winging it on here. And that's okay. You just sort of feel it out. So, and then we've got this one over here, which needs to connect here with a straight line. I'm trying to get my lines as straight as possible. And if I was doing this um, on paper with pencil, I have no problem just using a ruler. I love using a ruler to get straight lines whenever I need to. So this is one way that I could complete this image, right? I've decided that this is the thickness of my object. It's about yay deep in space. But I could also complete it in a different way. So let me get rid of those. And I'm going to make it super thick. It's going to go really deep in space. Right. And I'm trying to think about, you know, this point is further down than this point. So it's going to extend farther back into space. Does that make sense? So even if I'm drawing these objects as super thick, I'm trying to remember this relationship between these 2 points and how they sit together. So my vertical line, this line that I just drew, should be parallel to this vertical line, no matter how far out into space I make it. So this horizontal line needs to be parallel with this one that I'm drawing. And that tells me that this needs to extend a little farther. This horizontal line should be parallel to this one. And that tells me how far I need to go with this line. Right, so now we've got this super thick object. And for this up here, I know that it's just going to extend back into space. It's going to be about the same length as these. So if we could see it, it would probably end somewhere down here, but it's behind the rest of this object, so I'm not even going to draw that in. Okay, does that make sense? So I'm determining um I'm not just following these vanishing point lines, these vanishing lines. I'm also making a decision about how deep into space or how thick my object is. Um, and I know everyone kind of struggled uh, with this U shape. So I want to show you how I might go about doing this because it is a little strange once we get into curved shapes. Uh, okay, so I'm going to draw in my most obvious orthogonal lines, starting from my corners. Because I know exactly where those corners are. And it is a little tricky because I didn't really say this anywhere in the lecture, but corners, um, what a corner is really a change of direction. So we're switching up what direction we're going. So that's happening quite a bit on this U shape. It only has four real corners, but it has several changes of direction that I want to be attentive to. Um, so we've got we've got this nice straight line here. So I know that my my next line is going to be parallel to that going off into space, right? It's going to be like right there. And I can connect that top corner with that line there, following my orthogonal line. But then what's interesting is I have this change of direction on my U, right? And so what I might like to do is to draw myself a couple more lines to help me um, find where those changes of direction are. So this is my first main change of direction there. I might put one sort of at the middle of this curve. And then you see my letter straightens out again on the bottom right there. So I might put my last line there. And I want to give myself another one on this side. So I think my main change of direction is there. That spot where it straightens out onto the bottom of the U is there. Really just following that curve along. And I think that's probably good for now. So let me continue drawing this in and show you what it looks like. So let's draw our next parallel line. So I've got this straight up and down line here. So I know that my next line is going to be parallel to that. And again, paying attention to where it starts up here. And if I'm starting down here, I need to go similarly far down right there. So connecting my lines. Okay, so here's my change of direction. And what I want to try to do is follow this curve. So once I hit my change of direction, I'm following that curve, following that curve. Okay. And then similarly, on the bottom of the shape here, here's my change of direction. I can sort of, in my mind, connect to these points. So I know how far down my straight up and down my horizontal lines go, parallel to each other. And then, let's see, here's the bottom of my shape, following that orthogonal line out, trying to get the same, visualizing that same thickness that I've chosen for myself up here and up here. And then we're going to follow the curve, following the curve of that shape. Okay. And maybe I will, oops. Maybe I will merge all of these and then clean it up a little so you can see what we're working with. All right, so that is how I would approach that U shape. A little bit differently than this just straight boxy architectural type thing over here. So curves are a little bit trickier, but they do share the same sort of rules and how to get those curves to follow the same lines. And then very quickly, I'll show you on this bed here. So once again, I've drawn in my vanishing lines, my orthogonal lines, and um, from all of the very clear corners that I have here. And then I've also drawn a couple, this one in particular. This one is not as much of a corner as it is a change of direction. So that feels important to me to have that guideline there. And this one also is a change of direction. We've got like a little bit of a curve on the end of the bed there. And so how I would draw this in, let's say it's not that thick, and I'm just going to do this quickly, hopefully not too sloppy. I guess I could have used another orthogonal line there. Let's see. We're not going to see this foot too much, but we'll see this one. Here's the end of the bed. Here's that change of direction. Here's this change of direction. This horizontal feels pretty clear and easy. And then here I'm just trying to follow that curve, this curve, trying to stay parallel to those lines, following the end of the bed down. And this one, same thing, following this curve here, but I know it connects to this point here. So starting there, following it down. Okay, so that's how I would approach that bed. And I could do it thinner, I could do it thicker, going deeper into space. Um, so hopefully that is helpful. And um, yeah, I just wanted to say great job with these perspective exercises. I know that they feel a little crazy, they feel a little strange, but great job sticking with them. And I'm just so enjoying seeing all of your work. We're really closing in on the end of the term here, and I'm just so proud of all of you. So keep it coming. Just a short little bit left. We're almost done. You got this. All right. See you later. Stop recording.